Hello everyone, my name is Bogum Choi, and today I am going to present the work that I collaborated with Dr. Jaime Aguelo, Dr. Rob Capra, and my fellow PhD student Austin Ward here at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. First, I'm going to talk about the motivation of our research. Our interest has been focused on studying cognitive aspect of information seeking, and I've always been thinking the current search system lacks explicit support for many of these physical, cognitive, and metacognitive activities that users perform during complex web search. For example, when we search on the web as part of complex tasks such as writing a paper or learning about a medical condition, we not only search for information but also save information, organize them, and sometimes take extensive notes. We also do a lot of cognitive work on not only issuing a query but also choosing what to read from the SERP, actually reading text on the landing page to understand what it means, evaluating the usefulness of the information, and trying to build connections between information on separate pages, etc. Taking a metacognitive perspective, we also sometimes plan on what to search for, monitor our progress during the search, revise our goals and strategies as the searching proceeds. So we were interested in studying how a knowledge representation tool can support users by helping them better perform these cognitive and metacognitive activities during complex search tasks. This problem has been investigated in mainly two ways in prior work. First, people talked about the importance of external representation of knowledge in learning and sense-making. In education literature, it's been found that a structured representation of knowledge, such as concept map, can promote better learning by helping learners organize information, evaluate the quantity and quality of acquired knowledge, and communicating it to others. In the field of information science, sense-making literature also talked about leveraging an external representation during complex sense-making process. In summary, by external representation of knowledge, it means a visual reference that allows externalizing one's understanding of a topic or a task that has some kind of structure in it. Second approach to the problem was to build a tool that allows for externalizing activities such as grouping and annotating and investigate the user experience aspect of it. However, most of the studies focused on evaluating the usability of the tools, and few studies have explicitly examined how specific features of such tools can help with cognitive and metacognitive activities, which is what we did in the present study. To investigate the problem, we developed a knowledge representation tool called OrgBox. With the OrgBox, you could save a textual passages from a landing page by dragging and dropping it, but you could also start by creating a box and adding passages into the box. With the OrgBox, you could also label the saved passages and add notes to it. In terms of organizing, you could freely move around the boxes within the browser, and you could also move the passages within and across the boxes. Finally, you could create a hierarchy between passages as well. We also had a baseline tool, Bookmark. The Bookmark function pretty much as a traditional bookmarking tool. You could save a passage in the same way using drag and drop. The information was presented in an order in which you saved them. It ensured access to the information from later point in time, but it did not support any organizing activities during the search, such as grouping or ordering the passages. Our study had 4 research questions. First, what are the effects of the tool on participants' post-task perceptions? Second, how did participants use different features of the tool? Third, what are perceived benefits and challenges of the tool? Fourth, how did the tool influence participants' approach to the task? In other words, did the participants do things differently based on what the tool allowed them to do? And how? In our study, we used 2 tasks. We had participants complete 2 tasks with 2 different tools. As you can see in the description, we asked them to imagine being a journalism student and needing to write a 30-page paper on a topic of debate in the United States. To do a research on the topic, they were asked to use our custom-built search engine that was running on a news article collection. For the topics, we chose abortion and gun control because those were 2 of the most popular and complex debate topics in recent US history. We conducted a lab study with 32 participants, and the protocol was as follows. After obtaining informed consent, we provided participants with a printed copy of task description and asked them to read it aloud. Then the participant watched an instructional video that introduces a tool they're going to use for their first task. Then they read a topic description and completed the pre-task questionnaire. They were given 40 minutes to research on the topic using our search system along with the tool. After done searching and gathering information, they were given 15 minutes to generate an outline for the hypothetical paper based on what they have found. After working on the outline, they completed the post-task questionnaire and they went through the same steps for the second task. After done with the two tasks, we did a post-session interview to learn more about their experience with the both tools during the tasks. The study took about 2 hours and a half in total. To address the RQ1, we use multi-level modeling to analyze participants' quantitative response to post-task survey. We asked participants about whether the tool helped them with some key cognitive and metacognitive activities. To address the RQ2 to 4, we analyzed 16 interview transcripts. During the interview, we asked about the perceived benefits and challenges, likes and dislikes of each tool that they used during the tasks. Moving on to results, we found a significant difference in participants' perceptions on whether the tool helped with different cognitive and metacognitive activities. Participants reported that the OrgBox helped better with planning, making connections between concepts and ideas, organizing the information, monitoring the progress during the search, evaluating their own performance, and updating their strategies as they go. In RQ2, we identified various ways in which people use specific features of the OrgBox and the workarounds that they use to create some loose groupings between passages while using the bookmark. Due to the time constraints, I won't cover those here, but you can read more about them in the paper. Okay, our RQ3 concerned perceived benefits and challenges of the tools. In terms of benefits of the bookmark, participants mentioned that they favored its lightweight function. It was simple and easy to learn. They did not have much work to do with the bookmark during the search. The last one was more interesting though. One participant talked about the bookmark forcing her to get off a quick start. Without thinking much about it, she could just jump into the task and start adding things to the bookmark. In terms of challenges, participants complained about not being able to organize the saved passages while searching. It required participants a lot of work to remember what they saved and why, and reconstruct the logical flow behind what they chose to save in the tool. One last important challenge was that participants would sometimes choose not to save the information, regardless of its usefulness, because they thought the information was going to get lost in the bookmark list anyway. Moving on to OrgBox, we are going to focus on the benefits that are related to cognitive and metacognitive activities, and I'm only introducing a couple for each category here. In terms of cognitive activities, participants mentioned the OrgBox helped them navigate to saved information better because the visual structure of the information, as well as the written notes, helped them remember what they saved, why, and how they fit together. Additionally, participants found it beneficial to have everything in one place because it saved costs of switching back and forth between different pages that they had to interact with during the search. For example, one participant said, I constantly flip back and forth between different pages in my Word document, which eats up a lot of time, and it's distracting. With the OrgBox, it was a way to put all in one section. In terms of metacognitive activities, participants described how the OrgBox encouraged planning in the initiation phase. For instance, one participant said, it helped me come up with a concrete plan for what I did want to do. I was able to map out what I wanted to learn or include in the outline. Participants also talked about the OrgBox helping them monitor the progress and identify the gap in their search. For example, one participant said, it helped me realize where I had a dearth of information. Another participant elaborated it by saying, if I had a lot in one box and didn't have a lot in other boxes, it helped me realize I need to get more about different portions of the topic. This suggests that the OrgBox can help achieve the balance between breadth and depth of the search, if that's the desired quality of the task. Finally, many participants talked about being able to update their understanding and revising their strategy throughout the task by manipulating the representations in the OrgBox. One participant described it as the OrgBox not set in stone as compared to the bookmark. Another participant said, I could change it or move it so that it wasn't locked into where I thought I was going to go with things. Just the fact that it was so iterative, I could go back and change things and fine tune my thinking right there in real time. This is very much reflective of the evolving nature of learning process. Now, some challenges of the OrgBox. First, there was just as much work that you needed to do to actually take advantage of the OrgBox. Next, some participants felt obligated to come up with a structure earlier during the OrgBox condition and found that challenging, especially when they did not have something to build off of, such as a prior knowledge on the topic. On the other hand, some participants had too many thoughts at the beginning to externalize them in any organized manner, in which case they felt disoriented and scattered. Finally, we had some interesting observations on how the tools could influence participants' approach to the task. Throughout the task, the OrgBox seemed to influence participants to more engage with goal-oriented behaviors. First, the OrgBox influenced participants to think about the overall goal of the task, which was a structured outline from the beginning of the task. In other words, it encouraged planning. During the task with the OrgBox, participants engaged more with top-down, goal-driven behaviors, including monitoring, evaluating, constant updating, and revising. Also, they were more intentional and deliberate in choosing passages to save, probably because the OrgBox had boxes that represent specific subtopics and subgoals. With the bookmark, however, participants took more of bottom-up, data-driven approach. Unless they were using a specific workaround method, they went with the information that they encountered and found somewhat relevant as they go. And their search was largely driven by the content that they found or the thought that occurred to them at the moment. Lastly, a number of participants mentioned wanting both tools for the task. They mentioned that they would like to use the bookmark for initial exploration of the topic, then transition to the OrgBox for further exploration after they get a general idea of the topic and know what they wanted to search for. This was interesting to us because they could have used the OrgBox the same way they did with Bookmark by creating an unlabeled box and just adding passages to it. But apparently, participants shared a strong assumption on what they are supposed to do with the tool based on its salient feature. They associated Bookmark with saving without worrying about structuring at all, and OrgBox with developing some kind of structure. Okay, now I'm going to summarize our work with some key takeaways. We found an evidence that a knowledge representation tool such as OrgBox can provide support for cognitive and metacognitive activities involved in complex information seeking. We would like to emphasize that this was evidenced by both quantitative and qualitative data. Our quantitative data confirmed that the participants perceived the OrgBox to be helpful when it comes to cognitive and metacognitive performance during the search. Then by analyzing qualitative data, we further identified subtle but distinct ways in which the OrgBox provided that cognitive and metacognitive support, which might not have been found otherwise. Specifically, the OrgBox helped people with setting goals for the task, keeping track of their progress towards those goals, updating their understanding, and revising their strategies, just to name a few. Also, given that the changes made to the OrgBox were very much reflective of people's evolving understanding of the search topic, future work might consider using that information to evaluate users' learning gain. Additionally, with complex search, participants had different modes of searching based on the extent to which they were willing to engage in externalizing activities. They wanted Bookmark when they searched in grab-and-go fashion just to get an initial idea of the topic. Then they wanted OrgBox when they were willing to dig and organize more while still exploring. Finally, we found that the different affordances of tools influenced people's approach to tasks quite profoundly. Even though people could use the OrgBox the same way as the bookmark, they didn't. In people's mind, the bookmark was associated with ad hoc bottom-up approach and the OrgBox with more systematic top-down approach. Future work might consider designing a tool that supports both types of approach and even allow users switch between them if needed in a seamless way. All right, that was it for the presentation. Thank you so much for listening to it. If there's any thoughts and questions, I would welcome them in the discussion session. Thank you.